It's an all-new season of AC/DC Beyond the Thunder. Are you ready? With your host, Kurt Squires, with Greg Ferguson and Eric Gill. For those about to talk, we salute you.
Welcome to a freestyling episode of AC/DC Beyond the Thunder, a podcast where listeners tune in to hear extraordinary fans pay homage to this extraordinary band with diverse backgrounds from well-known authors, actors, comedians, professors, wrestlers, military war heroes, and yes, even artists best known for 2 turntables and a microphone. I'm your host, Kurt Squires, alongside my besties, the talented and hard-rocking engineer Eric Kiel and fellow AC/DC compadre Greg Ferguson.
Hey, Kurt. Well, I'm looking forward to this episode. I've been looking forward to it all week, and this is going to be a really, really fun one for me for sure.
I know you're a huge Run-DMC fan, light years ahead of me as far as rap goes. So
yeah, I think I started listening to Run-DMC probably in '84. Following a couple of years, I really got into Run-DMC. So if my childhood self could see me doing this interview, I'd be going crazy as a 13-year-old kid for sure.
Oh, that's great. Well, without further ado, today we're honored to have the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award winner, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, who's sold over 30 million albums. He's an author, appeared in multiple films, and who has a whole host of firsts, not to mention look and style that would define the next 25 years of hip-hop fashion. AC/DC Beyond the Thunder welcomes the DMC portion of the greatest hip-hop group of all time, Run-DMC. Ladies and gentlemen, Darryl McDaniels is in the house.
What's up, man? What's up, Greg? Y'all are huge AC/DC fans.
Yes, yeah. Greg and I started this documentary years ago, and it was about famous, extraordinary fans who have been influenced by AC/DC. And
Right.
They're professing their love for AC/DC and how they've been influenced, and so we've talked
Hold on.
with...
Question to y'all. I'm interviewing y'all now. What made y'all do that? What made y'all start that?
A little bit of stupidity.
Yes, the perfect answer. That's a long answer, but
Right.
I have a huge affinity for AC/DC. So, and I was always being asked, what's the deal with AC/DC? And I didn't know how to respond. So I thought, let's ask the people who've really done things with their lives and how they've been influenced by this band and see if we could figure this out.
Right. Okay. You'll find your answers in everybody else's.
Exactly.
So I'm about to find out what attracted me to AC/DC.
Exactly. Yes, that's what the show's about. So
The thing that attracted me to AC/DC is when I first heard, I think I heard Highway to Hell first. I'm on a highway to hell.
Yeah.
Now, I heard the record. It was the record first. Didn't know who it was by or whatever. And then I found out it was this band that was called AC/DC. But you are constantly overwhelmed by this statement, the greatest rock and roll band in history, they'll say the Stones, or the greatest rock and roll band, they'll say the Beatles. And then you got all of these people talking about Led Zeppelin, and then Queen, and all of these bands came into existence. But I heard Highway to Hell, and my first question was, why isn't this band mentioned in that upper echelons of the greatest rock and roll band?
yeah,
Then I found out the band's name that made this record, Highway to Hell, was AC/DC. And that was cool. I was like, oh, shoot, that's the plug, because I'm a kid. And I'm
Right.
like, wow, this is like crazy. Because I'm a big comic book head.
right.
So the name, the look, and the logo was like, just out of here. Then I discovered they have a song called Back in Black.
Yes.
So those were the 2 things that made me pay attention to, what is this about? But the other thing was the lead singer's voices.
Right. Very distinct.
Right. But so distinct that, look, Freddie Mercury's phenomenal. Mick Jagger is fucking incredible. And the Beatles, John and Paul are great. But y'all motherfuckers don't sound rock and roll like this band. There was something, AC/DC was definitive of what rock and roll really, truly is. Those voices, that's rock and roll to me.
Yeah.
I'm a big classic rock guy.
Yes.
Anyway, so I'm getting into, everything, Dark Side of the Moon and stuff like that. And it would always bring me back to AC/DC songs to say, why aren't these guys number 1, 2? And I'm talking about for that rock and roll. These motherfuckers make the meaning of what rock and roll is that everybody claims.
Yes.
They're the actual personification of that spirit. From the sound of the records, the subjects of the records, the performance of the records, just the whole aura of it. Like everybody else does rock and roll.
Yeah.
This band is rock and roll.
There's the soundbite right there.
Yeah.
There's the soundbite. Yeah, we had read where you were in your car somewhere in New York City, 79 or 80. It was probably 79, and you heard Highway to Hell for the first time. And it was like, where's the quote here? It was something to the effect that you were on an adventure or an amusement park ride.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Just hearing Highway to Hell for the first time. And
it was an experience.
Which is what rock and roll should be, right?
Right. Yeah. It did something to your movement and your breathing and your feeling. Like, I still remember that day. I'm always feeling good, but it was like I was on a ride.
Right. You had mentioned that you listen to a lot of classic rock, but when you think about rap, I think about early disco influences, right?
Not for me.
Even the classic rockers were delving into disco. Queen and Kiss and the Stones were even doing a little.
Because they all wanted to get in Studio 54.
Right, exactly.
They were such outlaws that they had to do something to get on that disco level. Hey, that's a great question. Here's what people don't know. In the early days of hip-hop, before recorded hip-hop, meaning before we even sampled and did all of that, what the world knows as hip-hop on records and the thing Run-DMC and Grandmaster Flash did. Before that, disco died. Now, disco is phenomenal. Disco, it was beautiful. Donna Summer, the Bee Gees,
sure.
The Tramps, even Burn, Baby. It was really good music.
Love that stuff.
But one morning, I woke up overnight. Disco sucks.
Yes.
And everywhere it ended. I wish that happens to hip hop right now. People say hip hop sucks, but it's thriving and it's #1 in the world. You got all of these rappers every day. You got a young this and a little that and a bit. It's crazy. I wish that happens to hip hop. But what happened to disco was I woke up overnight.
Yes, I remember that.
They said disco sucks and everywhere it was over. So when they was throwing disco away and all of the discos were closing, the DJs who were doing hip hop said, yo, disco may suck, but that bass line is a motherfucker. So we took all of those records, and this is before recorded rap, and the DJ would keep that bass line going so the MC could say his little rap. It was all about having a space in other people's records for me as the MC to say my rap. In those crates, along with James Brown, who is a foundation of hip-hop. Everybody wanted a James Brown beat. Why? Because James Brown always had a spot in his records with a funky drummer. He counted off 1, 2, 3, 4, hit it, and the beat would play. The DJs knew that's perfect for the MC to say his rap. So it was disco records and it was hip-hop records. Okay, let's not forget jazz. Bob James, Run-DMC's Peter Piper is a sample of jazz master Bob James, Take Me to the Mardi Gras. Because somewhere in the jazz record, there's always a break. Tick, tick, ding, 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 ding. And all the other instruments will stop, and there's enough space for me to say the rhyme. Also, in the South Bronx, in the beginning of hip-hop, in a Grandmaster Flash's crate of records, Grand Wizard Theodore, Creative Records, Africa Bambaata's Creative Records, DJ Jazzy J's Creative Record, Red Alert's Creative Records. There were rock records.
Nice.
Because rock records, and the thing that gravitated me to that was, I was a comic book kid. The rock songs, the drums was always louder,
mm-hmm.
and the guitarist was badass.
Right.
It was disco, soul music, and R&B was soft. Rock and roll was like the Incredible Hulk and Force Hammer combined. You know what I'm saying? My attraction to music was listening to the 70s rock radio. Here in New York City, 70s rock radio was amazing because on these stations, you would hear Sly and Family Stone.
Mm-hmm.
You would hear the Jackson 5. You know what I'm saying? You would hear James Brown. But you would also hear Harry Chapin, Bob Dylan, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Aerosmith, all of these other groups that I couldn't name. When I first heard hip hop, I was like, oh, shoot, you could tell stories about who you are over music. That's all it was to me. Storytelling.
I love that.
You know what I'm saying? That. Plus the thing where, Darryl McDaniels, my old man, a Catholic school kid, Darryl McDaniels from Hollis, Queens, New York, when I get on a microphone, I transform.
You're a superhero.
Mighty king. Right.
Yeah.
So for me, what sound do I remember as a little kid that was powerful? It was always the rock records.
Nice.
Louder drums. We Will Rock You. Goosh, goosh, gash. Way, way better than R&B and funk and all of that stuff.
Very powerful.
So, yeah, it was the strength of rock songs that totally captivated me, which is why I think AC/DC just blew my mind because their sound was always that. Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and the Beatles, they would always psychedelic and strains. And AC/DC is straight on voice, beat, and loud guitars.
No ballads.
Right. That's another thing. They are in a class by themselves.
Yes.
The Stones might have stayed there a minute. You know what I'm saying? Because even though Mick ain't the best singer, start me up. None of the bands are rock and roll in the way that AC/DC is.
No, I know what you're saying. It's maximum rock and roll.
Yeah, right.
Maximum.
So different. And I love that. That's what I wanted to be when Run-DMC, when we made Rock Box. Walk This Way isn't the first rock rap record. The first rock rap record was Rock Box, 1984, on Run-DMC's first album. So when we did Rock Box, we was trying to make Billy Squier's Big Beat.
Which is heavily sampled by everyone.
Boom. Yeah, bam, boom. That energy there. But that's just all drums, which was good for an MC rapping thing.
Yeah.
The real rock doesn't come in until the drum intro ends and it goes, God. Everybody was sporadic with their rock and roll. AC/DC's full time, all night from the beginning, straight to stage, all the way to the end. And that's who I have to be that because, I'm not a great, I'm a great lyricist. But I'm not lyrically as acrobatic as Eminem and Jay-Z and all these cats. So for me to bust their ass, my presentation is going to be AC/DC's because AC/DC is something else.
I love that. I read somewhere on Revolver magazine where you listen to Highway to Hell every day. Is that true?
No. The song that I listened to when I discovered it every day was she was a fast machine. She kept the motor clean. She was it was that rock and roll energy, hard as hell, nothing changed. They ain't softened shit up, but it was fucking placed beautifully.
When you just sang that back as sort of a scat song, it's almost a rap in itself.
It is, yeah. That's funny you said it. DJ Scratch, one of the greatest DJs in the history of hip hop, said that I need to make Back in Black over.
Yeah.
And he said exactly like it is. You know what I'm saying?
So you're a young Catholic kid growing up in Hollis, Queens in the 60s, 70s, 80s. It's kind of like a battle zone at that time, right? I remember going to New York City in the 80s and it was iffy during the daytime.
Yeah,
right?
it was crazy. It was so crazy. But it was beautiful.
Yeah.
There was just something about it you loved.
But music is this great release for you, and you started to get into DJing. So in '83, is that when you met up with Joseph Run Simmons?
When we first made the record, our first record was '83. I met up with Joe in 8th grade.
Okay.
At St. Pascal Baylor Catholic School, when his brother was managing the early hip hop acts like a Curtis Blow and like Houdini and like Grandmaster Flash and all of those cats. He was a manager of certain acts, but he was the party promoter that was taking hip hop from the streets indoors. And it's funny, like you said, at that time, everybody was doing disco rapping.
Right.
Everybody was, I'm the disco man. Disco, the Fat Boys were the Disco 3.
Right.
If you listen to all the early rap records, they'll say something about being the disco king on the mix. It was disco because it was club party DJ record playing thing.
And Jam Master Jay, was he like the guy?
He was a neighborhood DJ.
Okay.
So what was special about Jay, why he was such a good DJ, there was two DJs. There was the DJ that could come and play your mother and father's gathering.
Yeah.
You know, just spin the records. And then there's the DJ that could go to the block party and drop all the beats so the breakdancers could dance. And there was the DJ that would just introduce craft work. You know, like, what the hell? It was those DJs. So you had the DJs that emulated the black radio DJs, the legends like Frankie Crocker and all of those guys, you know, those black urban radio legends. And you had the DJs that were doing the block parties like Kool Herc and them. Jay was both of those things.
Wow.
Which was beautiful because Jay was the music student who, by the way, played the drums.
Oh, perfect.
The motivation for Jay to be a good student was, if you don't keep your grades up, you can't play in the school band and you can't take the music course. So, of course, Jay, in the midst of all this mischievous stuff that he did as a kid, he got good grades because he wanted to play the drums. By playing the drums, he was exposed to all types of music, rock and roll, funk, R&B, disco, and all of that. So Jay was multi-skilled in all of the arts. While some DJs only knew jiu-jitsu, when Jay knew jiu-jitsu, Bruce Lee skills, Shaolin monk master stuff, if I had to describe it to y'all.
That's an MVP guy right there.
The funny thing was, most of the people in my neighborhood, nobody really gravitated toward rock. You know, they called me white boy. Oh, truthfully, you know, people are evil and they don't know better, if you know. I was white boy because I loved everything from, you know, Led Zeppelin to the Stones to AC/DC to Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
That gravel. Like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, not who is this? What is this?
Yeah.
But, you know, all the way down to Bob Dylan, all the way down to Harry Chapin and Jim Croce, you know. Cats in the Cradle was one of my favorites. There was just something about folk rock and rock that was so different from black and the soul music. But for me, rock was just like superheroes to me.
The song you released recently, America, name drops all of those guys. And honestly, you could do a great Back in Black mashup with that tune. It's got that same vibe.
I always say AC/DC is the American rock. But hold on, here's the mind blower. When I found out that they were from Australia, I was like, what the hell? I was like, Australia must be cool. Yeah, because they wasn't from Britain. They wasn't from where Led Zeppelin and the Stones and the Beatles were from. I guess their spirit in Australia, their land down under, them motherfuckers went to hell. Like, I can understand why they did Highway to Hell. You know what I'm saying? So AC/DC always had these little special characteristics that were official. You don't have to explain them. Everybody else you got to explain.
Yeah, very simple band. They're right to the point. There's no political commentary from these guys, you know.
Like, on all emotional levels, though. You know, they made a record that was like sexier than almost anything Al Green and Marvin Gaye combined. Now, when I discovered rock and roll ain't noise pollution.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that flow right there is way better than fucking Jizza from the Wu-Tang Clan. You know, when you analyze people the way they write and say, oh, the lyrics is brilliant. That shit was, I said, yo, these dudes are definitely better than all these motherfucking rappers. I saw you lying on your bed. I asked you if you want some loving. Now, that's definitive. She said, no, I want to rock and roll in the waist. Oh, my God. So nobody beats that. Tell me who beats that. You can say it was brilliant when the Beatles did Sgt. Pepper's, you know, the whole, what do you think if I sang out of tune? And it was 20 years ago today. In the Rick Rubin thing, Paul said, yeah, we was trying to come hard. It was 20 years ago today. No. This dude said, I asked you if you want some love, and you said, no, I want to rock and roll instead.
I was just curious if you've ever kind of stolen a rhythm, you know, to make your rhymes or any lyrics from rock songs.
No, we haven't. The only time we definitively did something that was official rock and roll was the Walk This Way record.
Right.
Which we didn't want to do. And even Rick Rubin had said, King of Rock and Rockbox are bad examples of rock and roll. But that's the beauty of it. We didn't know what we were doing. We just wanted to be that.
Right.
So King of Rock was more trying to be back in black. If you listen to King of Rock, it's different from Rockbox. Rockbox is more melodic.
Right.
King of Rock is just in your face, highway to hell, back in black, raw, fuck y'all. And I was like, I don't want to be the king of rap. Like, I don't want to battle a rapper. Even in this, I don't want to battle Eminem. I don't want to battle Jay-Z. That's on a low totem pole for me. Who I want to battle to this day is AC/DC. Is the Stone by myself, though. You gotta understand, this little kid sitting there. So I said, I want to be the king of rock. I want Michael, Elvis, everybody to move out the way, get off the throne when DMC walks in the room.
I love it.
So if you listen to King of Rock, it's more badass in your face ACD style.
Let's segue to Rick Rubin. I read where Rick was producing this young, white, unknown Jewish punk rock dudes by the name of Beastie Boys, and one day he runs into Jam Master Jay and asks if he thought these guys could make a rap record.
Jay said, why not?
Mixing up genres was a new concept for Rubin, and Rick absolutely loves AC/DC. And he had already sampled Back in Black with the Beastie Boys.
Yes, on the Beastie, yes. You know how mad I was?
Tell us about that.
Well, the whole story is like this. So we're in Chungking House of Metal working on the Raising Hell album. And Rick Rubin meets Jay in the hallway, comes and starts sitting in on our sessions.
Okay.
So he brings, now you gotta understand, they're so mature and different now. Rest in peace, MCA. So he brings literally, have you ever seen the Three Stooges?
I love the Stooges.
Boing, bang. Imagine he brings those three young white Jewish guys from a punk band, and they're in the corner of the studio not paying us any attention. Rick goes, hey, you know how Rick talks? He moves his head like this a lot. Hey, man, you think these guys? Jay looks at him and says, why not? They kind of hear why not and stop. They needed a place to start from, so we wasn't using slow and low on our album. Let it flow, let yourself go. Slow and low when it's the both. So they basically, y'all ain't gonna use that? Yo, could we use that? We was like, why not? So we gave it to the Beastie Boys. Couple of months later, that led to the phenomenal fucking License to Ill album. But the Beasties, I guess because they were already a band, they didn't beat around the bush. From Rick's knowledge of AC/DC, I guess, in all the bands. Right. Like he would tell us, oh, no, Tricky's My Sharona. That's blah, 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 and give us the forward. I didn't know it was Aerosmith. I thought it was the album with the toys on it, number 4.
Yes.
I never heard Walk This Way. In all of my years till I made it, I had never heard what happens after the da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
No kidding.
Rick comes in, and he's utilizing the records, sounds, and the riffs from all these records that I was hearing on the radio as a kid growing up. It kind of broke me out from a racial standpoint, The Beastie Boys knew more about Grandmaster Flash than my black ass did. So I would sit around with them and they talking about Busy P. Starsky and the Grand Wizard 3-0 and the Julu Nation and DJ Jazzy and all of this stuff. And the same thing with Rick. Like Rick got to meet Jazzy J and Red Alert before my ass did. And I'm trying to figure this out. So Beastie start using, they'd use Led Zeppelin, No Sleep to Brooklyn.
Right.
I was very, very jealous because they're coming in at the top.
I heard that Mike D of the Beastie Boys actually rung up AC/DC founder Malcolm Young and asking for permission for Back in Black when they were going to release this compilation album. I have the quote here from Malcolm. He said, "Look, mate, we've been in the game a long time, and so have you. Back in Black is one of our top 3 songs. We can't let you have it."
Wow.
So I love Malcolm for sticking.
What year was that?
Oh, that was probably 1990 or something when they were going to do a compilation album. Or maybe later.
Malcolm would have let them play their actual version in some form.
Well, they released that single unauthorized, so Malcolm was
that was
enough,
before the whole sample thing.
Right, Malcolm was kind enough not to sue them for putting that out.
Wow, I was going to say, did he get his money?
No, they never. They never sued or anything, but they didn't get permission to do it as a compilation song.
That's honesty, though. I like Malcolm for defending that.
Well, what do you think about bands that don't want to sample? They don't want to give permission, like AC/DC would never do that. What do you think of that?
You can't do Mona Lisa over. I respect them for saying no. You can't do no.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know why, too? I don't think that was a premeditated, thought-out strategy. I think it comes from what we talked about at the beginning of this. They're in a class by themselves. I'm sure you can sample their shit now and the publishing deals and all that. But for them to have done that would make them lose ground. He was trying to hold on to their position in the room. I could see why he said, yo, we've been in there with y'all too. You can't have mine. That's all I got.
Right.
And it means a lot.
So how is that different from, let's say, you're finishing up Raising Hell and you're working with Rick Rubin and he brings Walk This Way to you. And Aerosmith's like, yeah, we need something going on with our lives because we're in trouble. Right. So it really was a win-win for both of you guys. But what would happen if it was Back in Black that you guys used instead of Walk This Way?
They would have let us do it.
Really?
Yes, because there was just something. I mean, everybody from Bon Jovi to Cher in the beginning, this is how we love you 3 guys. Oh, the guys with the hats. Like they would have been, oh, it's Run-DMC. Okay, yes. The spirit would have changed there. But let me go back. Rick didn't bring it to us. We was going to sample it, and we was going to do the typical hip hop things. We was going to loop it. It was Jay's job to DJ the whole record without letting any vocals play. I still remember the song. It was going to go back to the drums, and it's 86 now. We came out in 83. I was supposed to go it's DMC and a place to be. Rapping on the mic since 83. I'm the best MC in history. There will never be an MC better than me. That's why they call me the King. And then Run, like the Run-DMC, what we're known for, the switching off thing. And Run was supposed to come right there. DJ Run and I'm number one. Here to get it done and I'm having fun. Done with the sun. So that's what the record was going to be. We was going to steal Aerosmith's music and talk about us. So that being said, if we was going to do Back in Black, we wouldn't have did their version over.
Yeah.
But we would have stole their music and I would have talking about how I'm the king of rock. Not you, Bon Scott or Brian. I'd have probably name dropped them. I snatched the mic from Brian Johnson and hit him in the face like Charles Bronson, like, typical violent Run-DMC stuff, but that makes you happy. Yes, Brian Johnson would have been like, DMC punched me in the face on their new record. Like, because we were so well liked. What happened was Rick Rubin says, no, guys, do the record over the way the band originally did it. Me and Run cursed everybody out from the label, cursed Jay out, cursed Rick out. Rick made me and Run go to my basement, put the needle on the record. He said, take a pen and a pad, put the needle on the record and don't touch it. Listen to the song and write the lyrics down. But people don't realize it. They were already working on that phenomenal music. Dude, it's like a lady, angel. Brilliant. But they were so far gone in the industry, musically with the critics and public opinion, that I always joke like this. I describe it like this. Aerosmith could have made a record with God, and people would have said, nope, we hate it, get the fuck out of here. But what happened was, while Rick sends me and Run to the basement, he gets on the phone and calls Boston and says, hey, my name is Rick Rubin. I'm producing Run-DMC, and we want to make this song Walk This Way over. It's going to be crazy dope. Imagine saying this to someone on the phone. A crazy dope-ass hip-hop song. And the secretary on the phone goes, hold on. Come again? My name is Rick Rubin. I'm producing Run-DMC. We want to make Walk This Way over. It's going to be great. Hold on. So now they so far gone. They could have did a $30 million marketing and promotion campaign, and nobody would have cared. But this is how the stars work. Hey, there's some dude on the phone named Rick Rubin producing Run-DMC, and he says they want to do Walk This Way Over. So imagine Steve and Joe here. Oh, that's the rap. Yeah, we know about Run-DMC. That's that new music that's come up. Their thing was, fuck it, what do we got to lose? Steve and Joe both admitted in their books. They hooked up with us and it changed their lives.
Totally did. Second life.
But now it changed both of our lives, because once Walk This Way hit, now I know how Mick and Michael feel.
Yeah.
Before that, I was just DMC. If you knew me from the hood, if you knew the videos on him, if you knew Rockbox and King of Rock, and if you knew the album covers, and if you knew what Run-DMC was doing for hip-hop, how we was changing the game with it, cool, you might know me. But the majority of people didn't know me. Once Walk This Way came out, I couldn't drive on the Grand Central Parkway like I usually do without causing accidents.
Speaking of Steven, did you ever hear his induction speech for AC/DC when he inducted them into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Nope. I got to go listen to it.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's one of the most unsung speeches. And he did a great job. And Aerosmith kind of brought AC/DC under their wing when they came over to the States. So I was in Cleveland yesterday, and I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I saw your shell toe shoes and your specs and the hats. It was so cool to see some of your items in there. But one thing I wanted to say was how beautiful your speech was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You did it. It was a standing ovation. It was awesome.
I know. It was like, this has never happened in the history of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That little kid, man.
And I love the fact that first video you did, the
King of
video.
Rock. Yeah, the foreshadow there is uncanny.
The foreshadowing of that, of you guys breaking into the Hall of Fame before Hall of Fame was even a thing. It was like 2 years old.
Yeah, it didn't exist. It didn't exist. When we got inducted in 2009, they called me, all the heads of the regime, come in, we want to tell you something. I'm like, what? You guys were prophetic. I said, what do you mean? They said, in 1985, y'all did a video about y'all being denied entry into a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Larry Bud Melman from the David Letterman show at the front door going, you guys can't come in here. This is a rock and roll museum. And I screamed, King of Rock. They said, you was prophetic. I said, what do you mean? They said, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame didn't exist. It didn't start till a year later.
Yeah.
That is so scary. The truth be told, though, Walk This Way would have never happened. King of Rock would have never happened. And Rockbox would have never happened if rock radio didn't touch my life. Previously popular R&B songs that rappers was rapping over it to get radio play. I come along and I'm like, I'm not making this bullshit. So I'm screaming on everybody, I'm not making this bullshit. We need loud drums and fucking some guitars or something. I just wanted to be free. You know, I couldn't wait to demonstrate all the super death rhymes that I create. I'm a wizard in my word, that's what you heard. And anything else is quite absurd. I'm the master of a mic, that's what I say. And if I didn't say that, you'd say it. You know, I was like, that's very rock and roll.
I love that.
That's very rebellious. So that rock and roll spirit was the thing that, like, that feeling that sets AC/DC sonically apart from all the other people is what separates Run-DMC. I don't care who it is. Even Eminem, when he inducted us, speaking of speeches, before he went out there and gave us the speech, he looked at me and Run and said, nobody will ever do what y'all do. Y'all did some shit.
I want to talk about your comic books and also your book where you once said admitting weakness is the strongest thing you can do. And you've talked about discussing your fight with depression and drugs and suicidal thoughts. And
I almost died like all the people that I idolize.
It's such a sad story, but it's the lifestyle. And then you find out you're adopted and you've got some heavy stuff going on. And so it shows that you can not only change your life through the power of music, also sharing your own hardships is pretty amazing that you're able to do that. So
I learned from the honesty of all the artists that I look up to, all the people that didn't make it out of the situation and all of the ones that did. It just came to the point where I knew the king of rock was just the setup for what I was really put here to do. To talk about these things. When it came to the mental health thing and all of these people that struggle with stuff, I see that they don't talk about how they feel. Feelings is the most important thing. I don't care if you're a rocker, I don't care if you're a UPS driver, a plumber, a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, a little kid in the 3rd grade. My thing was, I'm sick and tired of the pain and the hurt. I do this for Chester, Chris, and Kurt. Chester, Linkin Park, Chris Cornell, Kurt Cobain, because I was there where they were at. I'm sick and tired of the pain and the hurt. I do this for Chester, Chris, and Kurt. Jeff is appealing. With Jeff, I flirt. I tell the world how I feel, and they think I'm a jerk. I'm not bugging. I'm struggling. All this guzzling is puzzling. So you know what? I stopped hanging with Jack Daniels and Jim Beam, so I can fight in the battle and prove we all can win.
That's beautiful, man.
So I'm going to come rock the box, tell you to walk this way in my Adidas to let you know no matter what it is that you're struggling with, you can beat and defeat it. I think it's my responsibility. You know, I think, okay, so what? The rock star dies of ODs and drug addiction and depression and suicide. What about the normal everyday people that are dying right now?
Yeah.
Rock and roll has taught me I could be the voice or the representative for those people.
Well, I have to admit, specifically AC/DC's music was kind of like my guidance counselor in high school. Music was a release and a healing tool. And that's kind of what this podcast is about, is like, what does AC/DC, how does it influence you?
Yeah, so the funny joke about that is I remember the day that I quit smoking Newports. It was 1988. Wow. I think I stopped cold turkey, I remember. Because I came out my house, I had my Cadillac with the $50,000 sound system in it, my gold chain, my gazelles. I'm going down Jamaican Avenue in my neighborhood, and everybody's loving me like I'm the president of the whole country or whatever. The day that I quit smoking, I was listening to Highway to Hell on the radio.
Oh,
because people would look at me weird. Everybody else was riding through New York City listening to Hot 97 and the other hip-hop station. I would ride around playing K-Rock.
Wow. So AC/DC helped you cure smoking?
Yeah.
So I have a question for you about comics. Growing up, you were really into comic books, one of your favorites being Iron Man, which of course AC/DC would eventually be associated with when their music was featured in the original Iron Man movie, Back in Black. But then they did an entire Iron Man 2 soundtrack. How did you like the marriage of AC/DC and Marvel Comics?
When it was time for them to think of what embodies the power and vibe and aura and spirit of a superhero, it's not Led Zeppelin. It's not Parliament Funkadelic. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's only AC/DC.
Yep.
Yeah, when you answer a question about a band and you say AC/DC, everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
Like even the people that don't believe it, when you think the first thing you think about is how does AC/DC sound? You go, yeah.
It's so anthemic. I wish they would play the Super Bowl. I know they've turned that down too, but they're like the ultimate arena stadium sounding band, right?
Everybody's asking me, why don't me and Run do the Super Bowl? Put this out viral. I'll do the Super Bowl if AC/DC does it.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's the only way it can happen.
That would be amazing.
AC/DC comes out, do this, and the special guest, me and Ron, come out, do Rock Box and King of Rock. We won't do Walk This Way, and we go home.
Oh.
And have AC/DC play it for us.
Wow.
And have Brian Johnson start on the thing. Oh, no. People will be, what the fuck? And then Running Beat come out.
People would lose their minds.
Yeah, but I'll play the Super Bowl. AC/DC does it, I'll do the Super Bowl too.
I want to see that for sure.
Everyone wants to see that, I think. So let me ask you about Darryl Makes Comics, or DMC. That must be a dream come true for you.
Yes, but it was something that I didn't want to do at first. It actually came about from a music meeting. Music is so incredible. Music has opened so many doors for me, even though I never wanted to. I don't want to be here doing an interview with you. I just want to go listen to AC/DC.
That's an acceptable answer.
And then make a song in my basement just for me to hear. I didn't want to, but I'm thankful people like what I did. But I went for a music meeting up at Atlantic Records, and I met with a young man named Rick Morales, who, before he was at Atlantic Records, he was Eminem's right-hand man, A&R at Shady Records. He said, yo, I'll probably never get this chance in my life again. I don't mean to fan out, but DMC, you was like my superhero of the group. The way you look, your glasses and your gloves and your he said, yo, he asked me what was it like when he was a little kid. And I was like, oh, well, all I did was I went to Catholic school and all I did was read comics. And when I said comics, he was like, comics? And I was like, yeah. He looked around and whispered, comics? And I was like, yeah.
Great.
We sat there for 3 hours and talked about comic books. And he just looked at me and said, dude, you should do a comic book. And I said, hell no. And he was like, why not? I said, I don't want, like, I love cultures. Like, I was a little scared to come on here today. I was going to tell Tracy, my publicist, I don't want to do it because I don't want the real AC/DC fans mad at me for shit that I don't know. So she said in her monthly way, don't worry about Darryl. Just talk about what their music did for you. That's more than enough. So I tell Riggs, nah, because I don't want comic book culture people. Because culture is a way of life. My fellow geeks and nerds, you know how geeky and nerdy y'all are about AC/DC?
Yeah.
Somebody say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. Y'all ain't having that shit. Like, off with his head. So I say I don't want people thinking just because I'm a rapper and had a couple of successful records, here I am trying to profit off of comic book culture. Because I respect it too much. And he was like, yo, that's funny. He laughed at that. But then he said, D, you're not doing it as the artist DMC. You're doing it as the little kid Darryl, whose first love was comic books.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. So then he said, okay, I can see your reservations about it. He said, here's what I'm going to do for you. I got a surprise for you. That year, he took me to New York Comic Con. So when I went there, I saw all the stuff all the books that I had when I was a kid, when I was growing up. I say to him, okay, I get it now, but here's the deal. I will only do this as a tribute and a celebration of what makes comic books great to every generation. Mm-hmm. With that focus and momentum is how I started Darryl Makes Comics.
Well, you'd be glad to know Angus and Malcolm absolutely love comic books. And in fact, their 1995 album Ballbreaker married up Marvel artists.
For the artwork, right?
Yeah, the artwork on the cover and on the inside. They did a lot of artwork with that comic book feel, and produced by none other than Rick Rubin.
What?
Did you know Rick worked with AC/DC, his heroes?
Hold up, Rick produced AC/DC?
Yeah, he finally got his wish. I think he kept asking.
What year was that?
1995.
What?
Yeah. So it was sort of a comeback, true to form, back to roots AC/DC sound. They got Phil Rudd back, their drummer. It had a real raw
I never knew
AC/DC.
that. I knew Rick did Us, the Beasties, Chili Peppers, Johnny K. He did AC/DC too. Wow.
Yeah, and in fact, I think he was doing the Chili Peppers at the same time as
Oh, wow.
AC/DC.
You can only do it now, Rick. You have this window. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
You probably ain't even tell everybody else he was doing it. That's crazy.
Right,
Hold
exactly.
up, really? So 19,
Yeah.
what's the name of the album?
Ballbreaker.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought you'd be of interest to that because it's got a lot of Marvel artwork.
Right. And it's probably got some music that's going to blow my mind. Rock and roll has always been a discovery. You see, I learned something new. And my friends would always tease me, why are you listening to all that old rock and roll music? I looked at them and said, motherfucker, it's not old if I never heard it. So I'm going to go listen to Ballbreaker. It's all going to be new to me.
Yes.
Music, it doesn't have a time limit on this shit. I mean, that's why I could see why so many little kids love It's Tricky.
Right.
Like, I love that, Rob. I'm at the Comic-Con and little 8-year-old, 9-year-old kids come up. Excuse me, Mr. DMC, I love your record. Cutest thing ever. I love your record, Tricky.
I wanted to touch upon fashion briefly because you're such a profound effect on the industry with your Adidas with no shoestrings and leather jackets and hats and specs and all that. And it's almost like graffiti, hip hop, and fashion all together.
All together, yes.
Obviously, Angus Young's schoolboy uniform never caught fire like your look did. But
everybody knows what it is.
Everyone knows. Yeah. That's kind of like a one-off.
Powerful, yeah.
What you did was pretty amazing, but it seems like your new thing is rock t-shirts. Like you're wearing an AC/DC shirt right now.
Yeah.
And even in your video, Coming Like a Rhino, you're sporting an AC/DC shirt, which was so cool. How did that come about?
When I first started wearing AC/DC shirts, it went from, I remember those guys, to, yo, DMC's the coolest. I love him.
That's great.
Yeah. First of all, back in black, we was always black, the black Raider jackets, the black Lees, the black Levi's, the black denim tracksuits, the black leather jackets. So that's like, I go by the name of Darryl Mack and like Johnny Cash, I'm the man in black. Like, so it's just a whole, good guys wear black thing. When I got sober and I'm coming out back into the world, I don't want to put on a leather. I don't want to put on a Adidas shoe because that's my team colors.
That's your schoolboy uniform.
Right, exactly. So I'm not the DMC with the tracksuit no more because I'm not on that team anymore. Jay passed away, me and Run retired. So who is Darryl? Darryl is the kid that loved listening to rock radio. So when I come outside, if you want to know who I am, hip-hop was always about, without even saying I'm a graffiti artist, a DJ, or a breakdancer, or MC, or a rapper, I could just walk in the room, the Run-DMC pose, fold your arms.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you could look at what I got on and my mannerism and understand who and what I am. That's the same thing with the rock shirts.
Yeah.
That's who I am. That's like, I'm really the king of rock.
I've seen you in Motorhead, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, but the most prominent is AC/DC.
I smell collaboration coming somewhere. If you look at AC/DC and DMC, that's what it is, baby.
Yeah.
Like for them, it's just so perfect for me. It's very superheroish on my chest.
Yep.
The beauty of it is it's not the Stones. It's not Led Zeppelin. Right. It's not the Diesel. It's motherfucking AC/DC, motherfucker. And who's wearing the shirt is DMC. Like, no other shirt does it for me.
You had said something that some of your friends got made fun of for wearing Ozzy Osbourne.
And rock shit.
Most of Angus Young and AC/DC's early musical influences were black. Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Buddy Guy, B.B. King, even Louis Armstrong. Essentially,
Louis Armstrong. Wow.
Yeah, blues, jazz, architects of rock and roll. Do you think there's room for AC/DC to be influenced by Run-DMC?
Oh, hell yeah. You know how a photo is the negative, the flip, the yin and the yang, and the reverse, the alternate universe? I'm actually the flip of AC/DC if you think about it. Because they're influenced by all these black dudes. I'm influenced by all these white dudes. But I'm
The yin and the
realizing
yang.
me and AC/DC are one and the same.
That's so fun.
I'm just surprised and honored that I actually get to talk about AC/DC right now, because it even made it more my thing. Because it's my thing. Like, it's my thing.
I think we found the right person, Greg.
It's my thing. You know, it's my thing. For sure.
So I wanted to thank you so much for emceeing this very special episode of AC/DC Beyond the Thunder. Way too generous with your time, but
no, I had to, because now I got a whole album to fucking listen to and look at the artwork and try to find and experience a new song that's going to inspire me.
Darryl, thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
No,
So much
thank you. Thank you. Now I got something. I got homework.
Yes. And we always end our show with one final question. It's not an easy one, but if you had to describe AC/DC in one word, what would it be?
Ultimate.
AC/DC Beyond the Thunder theme song, Trailer Trash, written and performed by Gannon Arnold. VO talent by Bruce Jacobson. Cinematography and sound recording by Greg Ferguson. Edited and mixed by Eric Keel. Written, directed, and hosted by Kurt Squires. Produced by Greg Ferguson, Eric Keel, and Kurt Squires. AC/DC Beyond the Thunder is a Squires LLC current motion production. Copyright Beyond the Thunder podcast. All rights reserved. This has been a Nat Attack presentation.
Shazbot Nanu Nana.